Welcome to the Snap UK podcast. My name is Mike. This is John.
Hello.
And usually at this point, I'd introduce 2 or 3 other members of our team. But hopefully for 1 week only, it's just us. Like the good old days.
It's the original recipe.
It absolutely is. You and me talking nonsense in a room without a care in the world. I've been up since 4:30 in the morning. You've driven all the way from another town. This show is going to be dramatic. Jim, Gary and Paul will hopefully rejoin us next week once they've been doused in bleach and kerosene and forced to wear signs proclaiming them unclean. For now, though, what can you do? We have a job. We must keep the podcast churning over.
I mean, for Paul and Jim's sake, I believe they are both immunised.
Well, I believe this is true. I heard it on the Aaron Rodgers website.
I mean, hopefully they're not taking as much ivermectin as he is, but...
Right, week 11. Here we go. Broncos and Rams on a bye. First up, last Thursday night's game. Patriots 25, Falcons 0, no 25-point comeback for Atlanta. This was a railroading of a game. An absolute shit show from the Falcons. Could not get anything going. They did manage to sack Mac Jones 3 times. They only had 7 sacks coming into this game on the season. But, rookie quarterbacks, these things happen. Other than that, he was outstanding. The run game was brilliant, and the defense was dominant.
Yeah. I mean, we keep saying it, the Patriots are getting better and better each week. I mean, admittedly, this is not a week to judge the Patriots.
No, the opposition was not strong in this one.
No, over the last few weeks, the Falcons have been... I know they beat New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, but since then, it's been out. Even around then, it's been
2 weeks of
mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's... I mean, for the Falcons, I know the biggest thing for them on the offense is still Calvin Ridley not being there, which, I mean...
It's a huge blow.
It's huge, but, I mean, it's not really an excuse. They're not the only team who've lost a number one receiver,
You can lose, and you can lose because your best players aren't there. And don't forget, Cordero Patterson was ruled out reasonably late as well for this one. You can lose, and without him, it's the same as the Titans losing Derrick Henry. He's been amazing for them. But you can still put up a fight. You can still score some points. It's the first time they've been shut out since 1988.
It was awful, and we've been saying good things about Arthur Smith. I think we've had him almost top of our new coaches.
New coach rankings,
but second at I think the highest because
I don't know what their identity is.
No, I don't,
and that's the problem. The reason he was high up our rankings is because they were winning games. They're now 4-6, but they have 4 wins, which is more than Cully, Campbell. I think Sirianni now has 1 more.
Yeah.
More than Urban Meyer. So, that's why he was up there, because they were winning games. But they're on the slide, and they have no team identity. What they have is a statue at quarterback. I like Matt Ryan. I think on other teams, Matt Ryan would still be a more than viable NFL quarterback. But they can't protect him. They haven't got enough weapons around him. Like you say, Calvin Ridley, Cordero Patterson, both missing. That's big when you're a statuesque quarterback who just needs to be able to play the ball down the field to other players. They've not had a proper running back-based run game all season because Mike Davis has not worked out.
No.
But again, that's down to the fact the O-line can't make a hole, can't do anything.
They've not had a running game since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been pretty dire.
I mean, Todd Gurley scored a lot of touchdowns. And he wasn't, if he worked, he'd still be there. They replaced him with Thunderfies Davis, who, other than, having the world's biggest thighs.
Oh, he is thick.
I mean, he's a thick man. But, yeah, other than bringing chonky, I don't see what else he brings to this team. He brings chonkiness. Yeah, that's what he brings, though, isn't it?
Are you suggesting Mike Davis brings the girth?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
I mean...
He's a girthful man, but...
I've got nothing. We need to move on from that.
A winning offense is not just built on girth.
Apparently not. No, this is absolutely the case. Matt Ryan has faced Belichick 5 times in his career. What do you think the wins-loss column looks like?
1-4.
0-5.
Yeah.
They've got his number, basically. But like I say, with Matt Ryan, I feel on 20 teams in the NFL, he's still contributing excellent numbers. I really do. But the problem they've got is they re-signed him. If they cut him, it's $24 million on the cap.
Yeah.
So they need to build around him.
They can't cut him because of the cap and because
the draft looks shocking.
But I don't think you can trade him because he's too old.
He's oldish and expensive. He's not exactly putting up a stellar season to make people want to trade for him. If you've re-signed him to this contract, you have to be building around him, and I just don't see what they're doing.
No.
Olamide Zaccheaus is not enough.
No.
Ever, for anyone.
I mean,
his girlfriend probably thinks
maybe for Scrabble. But, I mean, other than that, it's slim pickings in Atlanta. Pitts is going to be a player for all intents and purposes.
By this time next season, he'll be right up there with the tight ends.
But especially with Ridley currently out, Patterson injured. I mean, what else is there on the offense? So, it was very simple to...
Oh, it was offensive.
It was very simple to stop this. And, wasn't it four straight interceptions?
Yeah, so... Matt Ryan threw interceptions on successive plays and then was taken out of the game for the last 2 Falcons drives. The first of those last 2 drives went to Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen's stat line reads 1 of 3 for 5 yards and an interception.
Sweet.
That's his final audition in the NFL, I suspect. And then they put in... do you remember in... was it the AFL? No, not the AFL. What was that random league that started up?
AAF?
Yes, the AAF. Felipe Franks was a quarterback in that. I mean, apparently. He went 0 of 1 for 1 interception. It literally was 4 successive drives, 4 interceptions to end the game. It was terrible. Matt Ryan, easily the best quarterback on this team, but not designed to play in this attack. I don't know where Atlanta are going with this. It's pretty poor. They are going to have to hope for a good number of changes in the offseason. The Patriots, however, have now outscored their opponents 175-50 during their current 5-game winning streak. The defense has become lights out, basically.
Yeah.
Matt Judon, 10.5 sacks on the season. That's impressive.
I mean, he's come with a big contract, but you can't moan when he's
generating.
Yeah,
that's what you need him to do.
Yeah. No. And you're not missing Gilmore.
No, because J.C. Jackson surpassed Hall of Famer Mike Haynes for most interceptions in a player's first 4 seasons in the Patriots' history. He has 22 interceptions in 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Now, that's impressive, and that's why they allow Gilmore to go. I'm not a massive fan. I think if you can have 2 lockdown corners, you do. But J.C. Jackson, right up there with the best corners in the business right now. And considering as well, you've got Devin McCourty at safety, 3rd player in Patriots history with 30 interceptions. So he's still doing the business. Kyle Van Noy, multiple sacks again. The whole defense has come to play. This team is getting better and better. It's the first time they've topped the AFC East in like 20 months.
Yeah. I mean, the one cautionary tale I have now at the moment is you don't win in November. And can they keep this form up into the playoffs, or have they sort of peaked too early? I mean, I'd hope so, but we've seen teams that look hot at week 11 before, and it gets to the playoffs and they just sort of run out of steam. It's going to be, but these teams also don't have Belichick in charge of them.
A lot of these teams as well. So we've just mentioned the lack of a run game for the Falcons, but the Patriots now have 2 excellent running backs. Ramondre Stevenson, 12 rushes for 69 yards, nearly 6 yards an attempt. Damian Harris, 10 rushes, 56 yards, 5.5 yards an attempt. You can lean on either one of these 2. We've seen either one can carry a game on their own, and that's when the Patriots excel. When they can lean on the run game and the defense is playing lights out, it almost doesn't matter who's playing. Like, we have played Brian Hoyer in quarters for this season already. You could be seeing him again before the end of the season. I never like to predict this early that a team will make the playoffs, especially my team. But they are the hottest team in the AFC right now. Them and the Chiefs, who we will get to.
We'll get to, but yeah.
Easily.
And
Easily.
yeah, they're two teams that have started slowly and are picking up. And yeah, I mean, the Patriots offense is, it's industrious. It's not particularly exciting, but
no.
I don't think who cares if you're winning?
Yeah, that's it. They're already maximising what you can get out of a rookie quarterback, which is exactly what we expected them to do. Mac Jones, 22 of 26, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That is efficient.
Yeah.
All right. If he can eliminate half the turnovers, and he's not exactly a turnover machine, but if he can eliminate half the turnovers next season and put up the same numbers for everything else, there'll be a winning team again.
Yeah.
Because he is very efficient, which is exactly what they said about him in college, and it works. It's what McDaniels was generating with Brady. It's an unfair comparison, but you get the point.
And yeah,
it's the opposite to Cam Newton from last year.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just doing what needs to be done. You know, good for him. Good for them. Good for them all.
Before Jim, Gary, and Paul tell me off for talking too much about the Patriots, I should stop effusing about them and move on. Following the Patriots win, they now top the AFC East because the Bills crashed to a 41-15 defeat at the hands of the rising Colts, and actually, to be fair, at the hands of Jonathan Taylor. 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. Coming into Week 11, the Bills had allowed 5 touchdowns to running backs. They allowed 5 on the day to this one. This was the upset of the weekend for me. It's not that the Colts won; it's the distance by which they won. Josh Allen looked like the Josh Allen from his first season, where it just wasn't working. He was throwing down the field and just overthrowing everybody. I think they were a bit rattled. I don't think they expected to be bad at this point in the year.
Yeah, it's... I don't know if it's bad, but it's...
Oh, it was bad.
I mean, this was bad, but for the last few weeks, they've not been playing well, but it's not been bad. But yeah, they really seem to... really regressed this. I mean, I know a lot of teams are having...
the ball.
But, you know...
That's the problem. Both sides of the ball. It's not like they lost 25-15. It was 41. They couldn't get a single stop against Jonathan Taylor. This was absolutely a pounding on the ground, as well as through the air. Like, all right, Carson Wentz didn't put up any sort of big numbers, but whenever he needed to make a play, he did. He only threw for 106 yards.
Yeah.
Because they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Had absolutely no need. But it worked. Jonathan Taylor was 32 rushing attempts for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns on his own. And they actually gave up well over 200 rushing yards. Naeem Hines had 31. Wentz himself had 2 rushes for 18 yards. He's not exactly mobile.
No, but he has
does
some
enough.
Decent legs. If
no decent ankles, apparently.
Still the funny to dislocate both of them.
The Colts issue still remains that they don't have a number 1 receiver on a weekly basis. Michael Pittman has been by far the best receiver. He only had 2 receptions in this game for 23 yards. That concerns me against teams that have high-powered offenses, that they won't be able to generate those air yards to keep up. But I'm not sure it matters when you're able to ground and pound like this.
No, I mean...
you like to grind and pound, don't you?
I do like to grind and pound. But no, I guess it's the same with the Colts for years. It doesn't matter who's quarterback. T.Y. Hilton is, he's so 2017, I can't believe he's not playing for the Cardinals.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was going to say.
And they used to get incredible production out of tight ends with Luck and Rivers.
Even with Brissett.
Yeah. And that's, Mo Alley Cox is not...
Well, he had no targets this week. Oh, sorry, 1 target, no receptions this week. Jack Doyle, 3 receptions, 30 yards. but that's not enough. I
guess we can't judge them on this week because this week they didn't need to throw the ball, and if you don't need to throw the ball, don't throw the ball. Based on the season, I mean, I've called the Pats industrious. That would also be the Colts. Then they're not an exciting team, but it doesn't matter. You can just hand it off to the running back, and he will create something great. Which I came into the season as a bit of a Jonathan Taylor doubter.
Yeah,
and not as bad as Gary on Aaron Jones. So I just want to get out there.
The elite Aaron Jones.
Yeah, elite Aaron Jones. But he's completely won me over, Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to be a number one fantasy pick next year. Not number one, but maybe first round in the top 4 or 5. And it's just what a player he's become. And as well, it helps the O-line for the Colts was a bit slow at the start of the year, and
definitely.
It's got better. I mean, I guess Quentin Dawson coming back and getting up to speed helps, but I mean, I get the feeling both these teams are going to end up playoff bound. But I mean, if you're a team like the Titans, who probably will be welcoming back a Derrick Henry by playoffs, you'd be licking your lips at the thought of the Bills right now.
You certainly would. They did help the Colts at one point. McKenzie, the punt returner, managed to fall over the turf monster, drop the ball, and basically give it to the Colts on like the 2-yard line for a score. And also, Tyler Bass was one of, I think, 9 kickers this week to miss multiple kicks. Kickers struggled this week. This was not a good week for kickers. There's not too much of that in the show because it's no longer a thing. It seems to be every third week a bunch of kickers. Mason Crosby we could get to later. Terrible again, really.
Yeah. It used to be, 1 week a season there'd be like a weekend when everyone was bad. But no, it is. It's every 2-3 weeks now. You're looking and well, kickers missed again.
If you had to pick one of these teams to make the playoffs right now, which one?
Well, the Bills have still got to play.
Bills are 6-4, Colts are 5-5.
I mean, I think they're both getting there because
pick one.
I'm
not going to hold you to it.
I mean, they're both getting there, but I think because of the Bills have to play Miami and the Jets. I mean, that makes it a little bit easier.
They also have to play the Patriots twice.
They have to play the Patriots twice, but it wouldn't surprise you if they split.
Absolutely.
1-1-1. I mean, I personally think they're both getting there, but I think who I think has more chance of progressing further in the playoffs. I mean, I know it's November, but you look at the Colts, and the Colts are a team on the up. The Bills are a team sort of leveling up. I think there's as well when it comes to playoff football, the Colts' defense and being able to run the ball, I think that will stand them in better stead.
Colts are 6-5, not 5-5. My mistake. But they have some tricky matchups left as well. So we've already said that we know the Bills have got to play the Patriots twice, but the Colts have got the Bucks. That could be difficult. Then they've got the Texans, which, frisky or otherwise, it's the Texans. Then they've got the Patriots as well. Then they've got the Cardinals. And then they round off the season with the Raiders and the Jags. Yeah. So, there's 3 or 4 winnable games in there.
Oh, God, yeah.
But actually, they could be in all of those games. I'd say the only heavy favourite is going to be the Cardinals. Heavy favourite.
Yeah. Because, after the bye, Murray will be back. That makes the Cardinals a much different team.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't think any of those teams are sort of heavy favourites against the Colts right now because they've got a bit of. I know that the passing game isn't great, but I mean Pittman and Hilton still would be better than options on a lot of other teams.
True.
I think they've got enough. But I still think, what we said about the start of the season, that I think they're a good team, but they're a couple of positions away from being a really great team.
The Bills have the Saints, the Patriots, the Bucks, the Panthers in the next 4 games, which is, again, all games they should be competitive in, but maybe not on the showing we've just had. Then they play the Patriots again, and then they actually have a very soft end to the season, which could really help them. Have the Falcons and then the Jets in their last 2 games.
Yep. I mean,
it could be worse.
It could be worse. And the thing with the Bills is, it wouldn't surprise you if they came back and blitzed at someone next week.
They're due in the next week or 2 a really high scoring game. They're going to go all out for scoring.
Yeah.
Their defense has bailed them out in the past, and I think the defense will come right. It's talented, but they need to get this offense consistent. Do you remember at the start of the season, they were just blowing teams away?
Yeah.
And that they need to get back to that.
And they will. I'm sure they will. The receivers are, Diggs and even Sanders are just too talented to
fall asleep
and basically fail. And which I know Diggs scored this weekend, but it's still a fail from the offense.
It's not been his finest season. Right, moving on elsewhere in the AFC East, we'll round it off. Far from the best game, but Jets Dolphins played. Dolphins win 24-17. Tua actually had one of his best games.
Yeah.
I thought he was impressive in this game. 27 of 33, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Yes, it's against the Jets, but it's still got to be done.
Yeah.
Myles Gaskin, a decent game as well, 89 yards off 23 carries. It's not setting the world on fire, but it's good enough. The problem with this game is these are 2 massively underwhelming teams that both should have had somewhat better seasons. All right, the Jets have had a rookie quarterback for some of the season. They were starting their 4th different quarterback. Joe Flacco started this game. Flacco has now lost 16 of his last 18 starts in the NFL.
Does not surprise me though, does it? I mean, like he's been on some turgid teams.
Before you slag him off, 24 of 39, 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's actually, statistically, the best quarterback the Jets have had this season. Better than Mike White.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, Mike White had a hot game.
And then was hot shit after that.
Then you realise, it's Mike White. His Kaiser style proclamations proved to be Kaiser-esque.
They really did.
But the thing is with the Jets. I mean, it's a rubbish team. I mean, we can. I know we had the argument last week about Salah. This isn't a great team he's got. He needs a few years to get it into his image, I guess, to create a style. At the moment, they have got nothing. They're going to have early draft picks, which helps. As long as you do it right.
2 of the top 10, haven't they? 2 of the top 10. Some other New York teams got another 2 in the top 10
at the moment. Yeah,
exciting times in New York.
Well,
looking forward to all 4 of them players being wasted over the next 5 years.
I'm hoping that we send those somewhere else.
I've heard the Seahawks might be looking for some picks.
Yes, but anyway.
Well, let's mention Elijah Moore though, the brightest of bright sparks on the Jets team. 141 yards and a touchdown on 8 receptions. He is climbing the ladder to being one of the best receivers out of this draft class. He's right up there with Jamar Chase. Like, bearing in mind he's playing on a far worse team.
That's it.
That's the caveat. Like, he's not putting up the numbers regularly, but to get this out of, and again, Joe Flacco.
It's not. It's 4 quarterbacks as well. Like, Jamar Chase is doing it from his mate from college. But Elijah Moore doing it from a bloke who, for all intents and purposes, I know nothing about Zach Wilson from college.
He didn't play a lot. That's why.
That's it.
Bit Mormon.
And Mike White, Joe Flacco, and I can't remember the other one.
Josh Johnson started a game.
Oh, of course.
I don't know if he started. Did he start?
I think he might have come in when Mike White got knocked out.
Josh Johnson played amazingly when he played.
Yeah, I mean, to get anything out of that collection of quarterbacks is he's got Michael Carter is doing all right as well as a sort of catching running back, but he's injured for 2 weeks because he's in my fantasy team.
Out.
So of course that's
been
jinxed.
good. He's been good, but I keep hearing his name come up, and I expected more. I just don't know.
He's a jet. That's what he's doing well for a jet.
He's outplaying the once so talented Tevin Coleman, who only managed 16 rushing yards this week.
I mean,
he was so good.
He was really good.
For like 2 seasons.
At the Falcons. Yeah. And then he did fuck all under Shanahan at the 49ers, where he could, even at a point when Shanahan could basically pick blokes out the crowd and turn them into stars.
Yeah. And
Tevin Coleman was still rubbish. And it's no surprise. I think it's scrapyard bound for Tevin Coleman.
You ever heard of Durham Smythe?
I think he's my solicitor.
4 receptions for 37 yards for the Dolphins. Never fucking heard of him.
Never heard of him.
I have no idea who he is. But well done. Your name's Durham. You've done very well for yourself. There seems to be a rush to bring Zach Wilson back. The Jets are on about starting him.
No.
Don't do it. Joe Flacco played all right. I wouldn't be rushing Zach Wilson back. I know they want to see him develop, but he's going to get crushed. And he's going to turn the ball over. And I can't see that it's good for him.
I can't see how you develop by being bad.
It's the David Carr effect. You just get driven into the ground every week and you throw a load of picks. And if Jim were here, I think he'd be saying you do need to get him back in to give him some reps under pressure. I think that's what he'd be saying. But I don't know if you need to do it now. Like, if you can get another win or two for morale purposes, like I say, you've got multiple picks in the first round anyway, and there are no quarterbacks. You don't need one.
It's not even not even mentioned because this isn't a Darnold situation like what Wilson came in. His first year, he's in a bad team. Just maybe let's take the pressure off. That's what I think the thing needs to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's take the pressure off both mentally and physically of having 300-pound men driving his face into the ground.
Which, incidentally, is one of your favourite pastimes.
It's, I earn all my money. What I spend it on is between me and the
ground, apparently,
and the bears I meet in the clubs.
Joe Flacco gives them the best chance to get any sort of result right now, and I never ever thought I would be saying that. He's been terrible since he won a Super Bowl. Which, by the way, is 8 years ago.
If it was 8 years ago, that means he's been carrying a broken back for 7 years.
Pretty much.
The fact that he's the best chance of getting a decent win is more saying anything about Mike White and Josh Johnson, and anyone that they choose to play.
Now, speaking of quarterbacks and injuries, this week the Seahawks welcome back Russell Wilson after his broken finger injury.
We did play against.
Did he play last week?
He played against the Packers,
he did play last week,
but didn't score.
But did not do anything. Well, he has now lost 3 successive starts for the first time in his career. The Cardinals still without Kyler Murray, so still starting Colt McCoy after also no showing last week. It made no difference. The Cardinals completely outplayed the Seahawks. It was only 23-13. But Pete Carroll's done in Seattle. Yeah. They're, 3-7? They're not going to the playoffs. They're not even going to be near the playoffs. I'm not sure how many more games they win this season. 2, 3, maybe? I don't think... I've got very little positive to say about the Seahawks. If they can't have Russ producing, the defense is no longer good enough to prop the team up. And Pete Carroll seems to be lost. He just doesn't. He now looks like an old guy on the touchline who just looks confused.
Well, he's been outfought effectively by a guy who's had to use Colt McCoy. Fuck's sake.
At one point, Colt McCoy rushed for 10 yards on a single carry. Or it certainly felt like that's what he'd done. He suddenly powered forward out of nowhere, and you're like, what? This is Colt McCoy running free.
Well, hasn't it been the case of the Seahawks? Unless it's Jamal Adams, no one's getting sacks there.
True.
the defense is a strange collection of players. Bobby Wagner was the best linebacker in football for a while.
5 years ago.
But, those days...
Forced to fumble this week. Yeah.
I mean, I get... If you can surround him with players, he'd be great. But, it's just him. And, fuck. I mean, the thing is, right now, it feels like the Seahawks have needed a rebuild for 2-3 years, effectively. But of course, you have, 104-year-old Pete Carroll there. He hasn't got time for a rebuild because, it's just how it is.
Pete Carroll is done in Seattle. This is it. This is it. Draw the line, move on. Now, if they do that, that might stop you having Russell Wilson.
Possibly.
But I think that's what's going to happen.
My priorities and Seattle's priorities are very different, of course.
Say what?
I think it's best for all involved. But I think as well, if you bring in a new person, it's got to be like how I feel like Salah, and I think Joe Judge should be treated. I think you need to give them time because the roster isn't good. As well, if also they decide, well, now's the time to cash in on Wilson because Wilson maybe, demands to be moved on, which is what's possible.
Well, his wife anyway, she's demanding to move on.
You can't. It doesn't look like there's going to be a star quarterback coming out this year potentially. So there really needs to be time given, and after a few years of mediocrity, are Seattle fans going to stand by that?
It's the first time in the Russell Wilson era that they'd failed to score a touchdown in 8 consecutive quarters. They didn't actually score a touchdown until the final quarter, and it was DJ Dallas of all people.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop talking about the shithawks for a minute. James Conner, brilliant, 13 touchdowns this season. He has 5 games with at least 1 touchdown, which is the longest streak since 1950 for a Cardinal.
Of course.
He's been brilliant and yet somewhat understated.
Yeah. I mean, he's been incredibly efficient.
The Steelers didn't want him.
Yeah.
And Kenyon Drake's done most of the... Kenyon Drake?
Chase
Edmonds has done all of the hard yards, but James Conner today, or at the weekend at least, carrying the day somewhat. 21 attempts, 62 yards, touchdown. The average isn't great, 3 yards of carry, but he's scoring all the time. You can't stop him. And this is exactly what they need. This is their first secured winning record since 2015 for the Cardinals.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have thought it would possibly longer because I just...
Well, Carson Palmer, I believe Carson Palmer got injured that year, didn't he?
Yeah, of course.
So, and AJ Green, a decent game for him, 4 receptions, 78 yards. He looked like one of those catches was AJ Green circa 2013.
It was
incredible.
Or
2014. It was incredible. Like the way he located the ball in the air as he turned his head and took it straight off the defensive back. Excellent. Zach Ertz as well. 8 receptions for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Somebody who often contributes to this podcast told me he'd be no good there because there weren't enough targets to go around. But that person did not forecast DeAndre Hopkins being missing for a number of weeks. To that person, I say, in your face.
Fuck you.
I would never be so mean.
If you're listening, Griff said you were an absolute dickhead and thinks he could fight you.
Colt McCoy, he's done fine. We're going to move on from him in a second. But this guy is lucky because, firstly, how's he ended up on a team coached by Cliff Clinkernuts when he was so papped for the Giants last year? And he's now bought himself another 2 years as a backup in the league with 2 out of 3 wins. He also, 3 fumbles he had, lost none of them. How is that a thing? How do you drop the ball 3 times and no one else on the other team picks it up?
Oh, I mean, obviously, if you've been hanging around Daniel Jones enough, which he did last year, you're probably well averse in, scrambling for fumbles. So, you can thank us later, Cliff Clinkernuts. But yeah, no, he's done enough. That's all. He's a backup quarterback. That's all he needs to do.
You get 2 wins in 3 weeks out of your backup quarterback. This shows me, and we'll get to it when we get to the Giants. But this, what I'm not getting at, Colt McCoy is not a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, but he is being coached way better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
that seem fair?
Yes.
Okay, moving on from the Shithawks. A team benefiting from their defeat were the 49ers, who notched a second win in as many weeks as they absolutely hosed the Jags 30-10. 30-10. I mean, it's not like the Niners have been brilliant this season and the Jags never stood a chance, but it looked like it in this game because what have the Jaguars got going for them? We've seen them win 2 games and I've not really been impressed either time. All right, one of them was a 9-6 victory over the Bills or whatever it was, but it was hard. That was so much luck. All right, the defense played okay, but to have the Bills not score more than 6 points was more down to luck than anything else. I will not credit Urban Meyer with that. I will not. Because that's a freak game. It's a freak score.
It was a freak game, freak score. I mean, you had the Josh Allen thing.
Allen on Allen violence. Yeah.
But, I mean, the Jags are turgid. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what the I guess the identity. We've mentioned identity before. What is the identity of the Jags? At the moment they're a shit team living off past glories that only
past glories?
Well, that 1 year, Saxonville, which came, went, and but yeah, basically, the identity is we'll win when we get to London, which is not going to be for another year. So I don't know what's going on.
George Kittle, 3rd consecutive game with a touchdown, which was the first time he's done that in his career.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 3 consecutive games. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't expect that
after not scoring for a year.
Yeah, exactly.
I know injuries were involved.
But still, Jimmy G again played well. I think he's had 4 consecutive games of 100+ quarterback rating. So the talk of bringing Trey Lance in seems to have disappeared.
I don't hear it anymore.
16 of 22, 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. Efficient again. That's all you need to be for this to work. Now, Deebo Samuel, 8 rushing attempts, 79 yards and a touchdown. He was their only running back. They didn't bother with it. I mean, all right, Jeff Wilson had 19 carries for 50 yards, but I feel like I could do that.
I mean, who was the guy? Trey Sermon.
10 carries, 32 yards. I mean,
he was drafted very early in fantasy.
Because everyone believes in Shanahan.
But yeah, he's done. I mean, fuck all. I mean, quite frankly, I think I heard Shanahan talking about him this week, saying, it's just not working. And it's true.
But that's down to Shanahan. It was nice to see Brandon Ayuk, figuring on the stat sheet again: 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
If they can get him, Kittle, and Deebo all working in the same game, then all of a sudden this team's really good again. I honestly believe that. There's not much else to say on this game, but I haven't seen anything from Trevor Lawrence. I know it's a bad team. I don't want to judge him, but either Meyer or Lawrence, something's not right with what. It has to be one of them, because
who I think it is,
and me too. Because Lawrence, but the thing is, he could be producing some wow plays in a bad team, but I'm not seeing those either. But I think he's being constrained.
Yeah.
Now,
so often when he was at the London game, every so often there's beautiful throws, and you think there is a player here.
Mm.
But yeah, it feels
well hidden.
It feels very much like a player on a leash.
Yeah, the thing is, obviously, he hasn't had DJ Chark do since week 3.
Yeah,
broken ankle. And another one of the more explosive players was Jamal Agnew, who's now done.
Yeah.
He had punt returns, kick returns. He had at least 1 receiving touchdown, racked up 200 or 300 yards.
Like a poor McCall Hardman.
Yeah, he'd put up 1 highlight play every week, and now that's gone.
Yeah.
And I see nothing but bleak for the Jags going forward.
I'm not going to mention James Robinson again because we keep mentioning him, but
Because he's an excellent player. 10 touchdowns on the season.
Yep.
I
Despite
think they only had 9 rushing touchdowns all of last season.
exactly. Fucking use him.
You know,
I know he's injured, but
the Jags do play the Falcons next week.
I mean, if anything screams our first 0-0 draw since the 50s or whatever it is, then that is going to be it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the Rams, Titans, Texans, Jets, Patriots, and Colts to see out the season. They're going to get beaten at least 4 of them.
Yeah.
If not all of them.
Probably all of them.
So,
but yeah, the Falcons, Jags, that's a bad matchup.
It's going to be dull. Right. Yeah. Let's talk Vikings love.
Do we have to?
Yeah, not in the bad, like, invading your country way, but the Vikings holding in there, hanging tough against the Packers. And heartbreak not siding with the Vikings this time, but instead falling into the lap of Green Bay. This was a 34-31 win for the Vikings. Greg Joseph hitting the late field goal. But this is the Kirk Cousins story. He is playing at MVP level. Laugh at me, you might. But check the numbers. They're incredible.
I want to laugh at you and but I can't. He's playing really well, and he's making clutch plays. A couple of games. He's been given like 20, 30 seconds at the end to move them down the field enough, and he's doing it. I mean, I don't like it, but he's playing really, really well, and especially to come out as a victor in the COVID Bowl.
Let me give you his numbers on the season. He's completing 68%. He currently has 2,775 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's
not. I mean,
what more? What could you want?
No, I don't know. Literally, the offense has a bit of everything. Really, it's got a lights out running back. It's got Jefferson, Thielen, Conklin, there's a good offense there. I guess for a few years, for a while, the question's been on Cousins, and he's answering that this year.
Certainly is.
And the defense is stepping up over the last few weeks. Like, Zimmer has a way of making safeties very... coaching safeties to become very, very good players, doing that again. I mean, I don't like them, but yeah, they're playing brilliantly. I can't, I want to slag him off.
No, you can't. No, they might.
I mean, I can, but I won't because it'd be unfair.
The problem for the Vikings is they're saving Mike Zimmer's job, or they're trying to, and they shouldn't bother.
Yeah,
I don't see what they're gaining from it. In all fairness, they're only 5-5 after this. Packers fall to 8-3. There's no stress on the Packers here. They're gonna canter to this divisional title, and the Vikings are going to be in the playoff hunt until the end, and then probably cock it up. But the fact that they're in it is impressive, and all I can find to fault with this team is the coaching.
Yeah,
Everson Griffin, he's reached 80 sacks as a Viking. Kirk Cousins putting up phenomenal numbers, like we said. The coaching, that's where a lot of the luck comes from. And I honestly think saving Mike Zimmer's job is the wrong thing to do.
Has it got... He's been there a while. Has it got tired? It looks so. I mean,
he looks so.
Yeah, but, is it a case of better the devil you know?
No, look, they'd be wasting Justin Jefferson. He had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 169 yards and 2 touchdowns this week. Now imagine what he'd do under a good offensive coach.
Yes. Yeah. I can't do that. He's a brilliant player. And the offense is playing really well, but yeah, if they... This is the question, because for a lot of people who would profess to be the smartest people in the room, they get it wrong a lot. Owners and whatever in this game. But yeah, if they can get the right player, they could. I mean, they could be incredibly explosive team that doesn't have to result. All their games are close. This is the Packers, I know, but they've had close games against much worse teams as well, and they shouldn't be having to win games, as many games as they do, by like 3 to 6 points.
Yeah, I know, and let's be honest as well. One of the main contributors to them winning this game was Mason Crosby. So he missed a field goal again. That's his 8th miss of the season, which is his most in a year since 2012, including that year where he missed 5 in a game or whatever.
Yeah.
It was. Like, I don't like to see teams quickly move on from kickers because I don't often think there's a better option out there. But I wonder if he's starting to slide towards the end of his career, and they need to consider what they're going to do about this because it's becoming a problem.
It is. It's the sort of problem that costs you big games.
Well, I would hate for Aaron Rodgers to suddenly have what I think is an elite defense most weeks, not necessarily against the Vikings, but most weeks, to get into the playoffs with that and then be let down by the kicker. Because Aaron Rodgers, this was his 67th game with 300-plus yards. Who do you think is... Well, no, I'll tell you who the next nearest Green Bay quarterback is. It's Brett Favre.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers has 67 300-plus games. How many does Brett Favre have?
51.
55, but very good. But now just think about the disparity in those two. It's phenomenal. This was also the 26th time that Rodgers has put up 4 touchdowns without throwing a pick in a game. The numbers are insane.
Oh, if he wasn't such a dickhead, I'm a huge Rodgers fan anyway, but he makes it hard for me to like him a lot of the time.
Prime Rodgers or Prime Peyton? Which one's better? There's only one way to find out. Fight. But
I think Rodgers can make Rodgers can make the throws that we've sort of been eulogizing Mahomes for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who I'd pick because
Prime Rodgers for me.
Yeah, Prime Rodgers
tainted by the fact that the first 7 years of Peyton Manning I didn't watch.
Yes.
So I don't know. We haven't seen a drop-off, really, from Rodgers. He had a couple of years statistically where he was down, but it was injury-related and Mike McCarthy-related.
And the talent around him related.
Yeah. But he's not had the end-of-career drop that Peyton had because he hasn't got there yet. But for me, Prime Rodgers is better than Prime Peyton.
Whilst, Rodgers is what, 38,
37? Yeah, 38.
When Peyton was
Proper
37, Peyton was 37, he also did throw 52 touchdowns in one season. So it is a judgment call of the type of quarterback you want, I guess, because no one's run an offense like Peyton has. Ineffective.
For me, I think Rodgers can make more throws, and I think he's a threat with his legs still.
Yes.
So for me, I'd take Prime Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, as well as the game moves on, it becomes more and more of a Rodgers game anyway. But I don't think
I love a good Rodgers game. Right,
but
let's move this one aside before Duncan starts crying. Could the Bears or the Lions manage to emulate the Vikings and notch up a win in the NFC North? No, of course not, because they're shit. The plucky Lions, and I am fed up with using that phrase, lose 13-10 to a decidedly Deadwood Browns, and the Bears notch their 8th straight loss off of a bye week as they leave too much time on the clock for the Ravens' Tyler Huntley and Devonta Freeman, losing 16-13. Where to start out of these two showers of games? Because... Okay, we'll do it in reverse order from this one. I think so. Tyler Huntley is the big name there. I've even written it big for you, you know it's the big name. That's because Lamar Jackson was ruled out with a non-COVID illness, which I like to think meant he shit his pants just before kickoff.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you have to think.
Immature.
What's the kind of illness that's going to come on quickly and result in you not being able to play, especially in white pants, which the Ravens do wear. He's probably had too much seafood. Probably speaking from experience here.
Well, you are an athlete like Lamar Jackson. It does mess with your fine tuning.
Luckily, when I'm playing football on a Sunday night, I wear black.
Well, so Tyler Huntley's first start ends in victory. Sorry, the Bears went up 13-10, and they left 2 whole minutes on the clock. Now, this was a Bears team that admittedly had been moribund all game until they were forced to bring in Andy Dalton because Justin Fields has damaged ribs, bruised ribs is what we're told.
Yeah, so
no cracks.
Not as bad as they feared.
No.
But he was pummeled.
But the very fact that Andy Dalton looked much better than Justin Fields.
It's not a surprise, is it?
I don't think so. I know that Fields sporadically has looked far more athletic than Andy Dalton, which is also not a surprise. Again, you could look far more athletic than Andy Dalton. But he came in and immediately knew how to get the team down the field.
Yeah.
It's just he did it too quickly. And they left so much time on the clock. And Huntley had been very conservative all game, started winging it down the field. And it worked. And then you allow Devonta Freeman circa 2015-16 to rush in for the score. This is the week where they released Le'Veon Bell. And this is why, because Freeman had easily superseded him.
Well, yeah. I mean, Freeman's a different type of running back to Lev Bell. He's a bloke you can just hand the ball off and he's going to, power through players, whereas Lev Bell is best with, catching a short pass, which isn't the Ravens. But yeah, I mean,
just because I don't want Perry to feel left out, by the way, the Bears' 8 straight losses off a bye is only the second worst after the Raiders' 10 consecutive losses off bye weeks.
He doesn't listen to us anyway. But yeah, I mean, Harbaugh, I know we a lot's made of Belichick's record with rookie quarterbacks, but a Harbaugh defense is not something a rookie quarterback also wants to face because they can make it really awkward. And I know, the job they did to Herbert earlier this year just shows that when they're organised, they can properly just dismantle a player. So but yeah, it was a grim game. It was a grim game.
4 of 11 for 79 yards, Justin Fields. 11 of 23 for 201 and 2 touchdowns for Andy Dalton. If they could combine the two of them, I think they'd have a very good quarterback, if I'm honest.
Mooney. Is it Mooney?
Darnell Mooney, 5 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown. But, more importantly, do you remember Marquise Goodwin?
Yeah.
Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He turned up this week. 4 receptions, 104 yards and a touchdown. Excellent.
Yeah.
They've got wide receiving threats. They should have even more. I mean, you'll notice there nothing for Allen Robinson.
I mean,
I believe he was questionable coming into the game. I don't know if he made much of an appearance, but certainly not on the stat sheet.
No, I mean, it's just a waste of talent.
Jimmy Graham had 2 receptions for 25 yards.
Well,
who knew he was still alive?
I mean, I knew he was still alive, and he must be one of the richest tight ends ever. But I mean, I don't know how because he's not been good for 5 years. But yeah, well, well done him on scraping a living.
The Ravens go to 7-3. They're top of the AFC. We'll get to that. Top of the AFC North. Sorry, we'll get to that shortly. Bears fall to 3-7. It's another completely wasted season. I know it's all about developing Justin Fields, but Matt Nagy's got to go. The Bears, it's a constant cycle of rebuild. They need to, I think, a bit like we said with the Jets, they need to allow Fields to develop behind Andy Dalton. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing.
I really don't.
No.
And I just think they need to be so careful with him. This is bruised ribs. That could easily be cracked ribs. That could be 4 or 5 games, like Tua struggled. And
look at Baker at the moment.
Exactly.
We're going to move on. We're going to move on to him, but
Yeah, well, we will. That's a great place to jump off. So Baker Mayfield basically played like shit in a 13-10 win for the Browns over the Lions. The Lions started Timmy Mallet at quarterback. Tim Boyle at quarterback. It may as well have been Timmy Mallet.
Yeah.
This guy was not good, does not look like an NFL quarterback any more than
He wasn't Fan Dabby Dozy.
He could have done with a great big mallet defense. that would have probably helped his cause. I'm not sure anyone on the Lions thought they'd be saying welcome back Jared Goff next week, but I suspect they will be now.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty reading. He was 15 of 23 for 77 yards.
Well done.
I mean, congratulations. He won 10 crisp packets and became a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, sub Mike White. Well done, you.
There was a particular podcast years ago used to have something called the Gabbert Zone. And this guy is well under the Gabbert Zone. This is not good stuff. The only thing the Lions have got going for them, we've said all season, is DeAndre Swift. 14 attempts, 136 yards and a touchdown. Other than that...
The touchdown run was really...
It was, yeah, of course,
super.
because he's brilliant.
He's
brilliant. He's wasted at the Lions, but he's brilliant.
Yeah. But, I mean, should we move on to the Browns?
Yeah, so there's nothing to be said for the Lions other than the fact that eventually I think they're going to win one, because I think they will. I do, but I just don't know how. I can't. They need DeAndre Swift to have a Jonathan Taylor game. Now, like you say, move on to the Browns. It's contract year for Baker, really. They can just play him on the fifth-year option next year, and that is what I think is going to happen. He is so injured. He's completely injured. They should be resting him for 2 or 3 weeks. Let Case Keenum play. The team was basically the same.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that much better than Case Keenum.
I think
his ceiling is higher.
His ceiling is higher. Case Keenum is probably the best backup in the league.
Colt McCoy.
No, don't fuck off. Don't make me...
Brian Hoyer?
Trubisky?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But, yeah, I mean, Keenum is better than a Mayfield playing...
He's clearly injured. He's got three separate injuries going on.
Yeah, literally. He's saying he's never felt worse. And I know publicly he's also saying, he's ready to play, but that's frankly bullshit. I mean, they need to give him a rest because, I know that they're still in a playoff fight, and but I don't see how you're going to do that with a limping quarterback. And even if you get to the playoffs, I mean, he's just one hit away from, having to play Keenum anyway.
He looks like they're stitching him back together every week and throwing him out there.
It's poor management. It's poor management.
Yeah,
for a guy who was coach of the year last week, coach of the year last year.
It seems very odd.
This is poor management of it's the most important position in the fucking game.
Now, the Browns did win on the back of Nick Chubb, though. 22 rushes, 130 yards. He basically took the game away from the Lions. If they hadn't have had him out there, this was the Lions' win.
Yeah.
And that would have been so Browns to do that.
I mean, it's what we've been saying, though, isn't it? When you've got an injured Baker and you didn't have a running game, it was even worse. But now you've got Chubb back. Give Keenum the go and just...
Well, if you've got Chubb, you've got to use it, right?
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's just poor. And the defense is good. The defense is good if you can, use them sparingly. And having an injured quarterback just means you are totally botching it effectively.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's just a bizarre set of circumstances, and rarely do we want to be calling for Case Keenum, but this is one of those times because I think it will make the Browns a better team right now.
Yeah. And it protects,
Jarvis Landry had his first touchdown of the season.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a receiving touchdown. He rumbled in as a rusher. I think it might have even been direct snap wildcat, but he rumbled in. That shows you how anemic the passing game has been because neither Beckham nor Landry have a receiving touchdown on this team.
No.
And if you'd have told me that last year, I'd have called you a liar.
Well, yeah, I mean, Peoples-Jones has been doing fine, but yeah, Landry is now their de facto number one. I mean, probably would have been Adele if fit, and
Through
whatever, but it's never worked.
Through
It's just
week
never
11,
worked.
how many touchdowns does Baker Mayfield have? Passing touchdowns.
Passing 12.
10 to 6 interceptions. Now, I know he's missed some time, and I know he's been injured. That's not good numbers.
No.
That's not good. Let me remind you, Kirk Cousins 21-2.
Yeah.
And the talent levels on those two teams, I would say the Browns are a better team. I know the Vikings have got Jefferson.
Still, I think Jefferson and Thielen, whatever, are a better pair than what the Browns have. But I'm not saying the Browns are a bad team. I think that
Oh yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, but I just think that illustrates how anemic they have become.
Yeah, but it's your own fault. You're playing an injured bloke.
They're a run-first team, like I was saying with the Patriots. It's just that the Browns aren't as good at it.
Yeah,
right now.
Well, the run is when they're fit.
Yeah,
it's the best.
That's what I mean. Right now,
it's the best one too in football.
If both those teams play at their peak, the Browns are a better team.
Yeah,
because their defense is as good.
But yeah, it's just bizarre what's going on.
Okay, I think that's a lot of the shit out of the way. So the Ravens win does keep them atop the AFC North, and like I say, the Browns are bottom of that. What could the chasing pack do? Well, the Bengals whooped up on a lifeless Raiders, who, I may add, are no longer contenders. They lost 32-13. And at the same time, the Steelers took on the Chargers in what turned out to be an epic on Sunday night and eventually lost 37-41. These two games couldn't have been more different. Basically, the Raiders didn't show again for the third consecutive loss in the Bisaccia era.
Yep. It's going to be a short-lived era, so let's not even call it an era.
You got to call it something.
Span.
Yes, the Bisaccia span. It sounds like something to do with architecture. I was having trouble with my Bisaccia span.
It sounds like something from a weight loss clinic.
I've never been to a weight loss clinic.
Me neither.
Well, perhaps you should try. Hey.
Fuck you.
Anyway, moving on from that. So let's go with the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 20 of 29, 148 yards and a touchdown. Absolutely nothing impressive. Joe Mixon, 30 attempts, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, dominated the game, basically kept the Raiders off the field a lot of the time.
Yep.
He was excellent. He's been so good this year because he's been fit. He's actually been available.
Yeah.
Been calling out for it all this time because this is what they need. We know Burrow, when needed, can execute brilliant plays, but you don't want to be riding that all the time.
As well, he started off last season well, but of course, after game 6 when Burrow got injured, you knew that's all they had. Right now, they have a balanced offense. Is it going to be Burrow to Chase has been brilliant, but they've also got other receivers that can mix it up. But yeah, Mixon, superb, absolutely. It's a shame that he's doing it this year when you've also got Taylor. Yeah, Eckler's having a great season. These players and
this illustrates how good he's been in context. Joe Mixon has 1 or more touchdowns in 7 straight games, which is the longest streak for a Bengals running back ever.
Doesn't surprise me.
Well, no, because he's probably the best running back they had. But that gives you some context as to what he's worth to this franchise. They've got franchise running back, franchise quarterback, franchise wide receiver, and the defense has been good.
Yeah.
Something is missing occasionally, which I still think is down to Zach Taylor being a young coach. But it's a really good team.
The defense needs additions, but that's doable because the offense is young as well, so that they can just keep adding little bits to that each year. I mean, I don't want to live in a world where the Bengals are good, but it seems that might be the case. But they're doing really well. I thought Zach Taylor would be living his last year as a head coach. But nope, I think he's doing fine. The seat is no longer hot at all. So yeah, I'm not sure if
3 more sacks on Burrow though.
Oh, every time he gets sacked, I watch it through my fingers. I can't
use your eyes.
I know. I like there was a bit where he made a little bit of a run. And the defender got to him. I was like, oh no, and it doesn't get any easier to watch because it is. I just remember what happened, but.
Well, we all remember. Nobody wants to see that again. But, to be fair, he's going to take hits. It's not like it was Alex Smith-esque. And we watched that through clenched fists. I don't know about fingers.
Yeah. But yeah. For the Raiders, I mean, Derek Carr is a talented quarterback. Josh Jacobs is a good running back. Waller's should be a top 3 or 4 tight end. And I just don't know how it's so anemic right now.
No, the whole team looks a bit lost. Yeah, Burrow's been sacked 28 times this season already.
Oh.
It's not. Oh. It's too much. Now, we knew this was the cost of drafting Jamar Chase. Yeah. He did not get that elite lineman, but he is upright, so that's what counts. Let's look at the Steelers-Chargers. This game, basically the Steelers made it a game in the fourth quarter when they scored, I think, 27 points in the fourth quarter and then lost to Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been happier, to be honest with you.
Oh, man. I'm not going to lie. I didn't stay awake for this whole game, but I woke up and had a nice little chuckle to myself when I saw the score and the game plan. But yeah.
Is this the spark that reignites the Chargers season, do you think?
I hope so, because I'm a huge fan of where they've been going, but I hope as well. I think
they're another team that's got franchise quarterback, franchise running back, franchise wide receiver in place.
Yeah.
Which normally, when you've got a team, is a surefire sign that you're heading towards the playoffs. The defense has been poop this season.
Yeah, it's poop. It's just strange when you've got, a defensive-minded head coach and you've got players on that defense who, you've got Pro Bowlers there and,
they're just not living up to the billing at all.
Yeah.
And that will be what lets them down in the end. I'll tell you what won't let them down is Justin Herbert. He became the first player in the Super Bowl era to have 350 or more passing yards and 90 rushing yards in a single game. That's impressive. That's mighty impressive.
The guy's legit. I mean, I know people, every so often, like he'll have a game like the Ravens where you can shut him down, but that's the same for every quarterback, I think people want to say, oh, no, he's regressing this season. He's fucking lights out. He's brilliant, and long may it continue. And when you've got Eckler...
Well, Austin Eckler, first Charger running back ever to have 2 rushing and 2 receiving touchdowns.
And they've had some good rushers in their time, so that's quite an achievement. And I did see a bloke who had both Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler in his fantasy team and lost.
Oh, wow. And lost?
He lost.
Who else did he have in there? Brett Favre?
It must have been like Matt Ryan. And
the Falcons' defence? Like, well, who else could he possibly have had in there?
Allen Robinson.
Larry Fitzgerald at wide receiver. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, the other guy had like Rodgers, who had a great game with Devontae Adams and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ. This game meant a lot to you and me, John. It came down for our fantasy game to Najee Harris.
Well, yes. Najee Harris, who...
39 yards and a touchdown.
Importantly as well, 1 concussion.
Yeah.
But he came back.
A strange one.
I don't want to see that.
It's almost like the Steelers chose to ignore concussion protocol.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. they don't fucking listen to this. So yeah,
If only he'd have gained another 7 yards.
7 yards, and I'd have beat you.
Yeah,
but
we were never mentioning it again. But I thought I'd just bring it up this one time.
It's fine. It's only us two here.
We played some of the worst quarterbacks of the season. It did not go well.
No. I think I would almost have been better off playing Kyler Murray in my fantasy thing, because I'd Fields, a late addition. But yeah, it's
I had Tannehill. We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that,
he was epically shit.
Not as shit as Fields. It helps, or Ryan, but yeah. I can't remember what I'm about.
Well, that no shock there. Yeah. So,
Najee Harris. Yeah. No. It was a. Yeah, it was a horrible hit.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
He shouldn't have come back.
I don't see that he should be back. I think the Steelers are showing life most weeks, but I hope they don't make the playoffs because they won't be worth watching.
No. I mean, they're a Tomlin team, so they'll always be in a game.
They're going to be 9-8, and they're probably going to miss out on the playoffs. But he'll keep his streak of winning seasons alive. I don't know what more they can really do. Najee Harris, rookie running back. The defense has been injured on and off. When they're all there, very good. When they're not, average. And Big Ben, he won in every 3 weeks. He turns up. The rest of the time, he looks like a fat lad.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, they are missing some huge players on the defense, but so's every team.
At this time of the year, everybody is.
And I mean, it's not an excuse. In
the
a way,
the Steelers are outgunned.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's relax. Take a deep breath and discuss. The Texans control the game and rightly beat the Tetons, who finally showed that losing Derrick Henry can't be ignored. Go on, Tyrod. Show them how good you can be. Be chill, be relaxed. 22-13, Texans over Titans. And this has blown the AFC number 1 seed wide open.
What the fuck?
This is ridiculous. Right?
What the?
Tyrod Taylor became the first opposing quarterback to rush for 2 touchdowns against Tennessee since 1997. And boy, did the Texans need Tyrod back.
Yeah. I mean,
because they actually look like they have some life with Tyrod under center.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm actually calling him Tyrod out of respect.
Honestly, man, Tyrod gets my respect. If we had a star of the week, it would be him, because that team's shit. Yeah, quite frankly.
I was about to point out his numbers. Nothing special at all. He 14 of 24 for 107 yards passing, and he rushed 6 times for 28 yards, but 2 scores.
Yeah.
The point was the Titans could not get off the field on defense and could not stay on the field in offense. Tannehill had his first ever 4 interception game. He was never this shit with the Dolphins.
No, it was a horrendous game. I mean, this is a sort of game you'd be looking at, especially with no Julio, a big AJ Brown sort of game. And no, it's fucking awful.
Well, he got injured. He missed a large chunk of this game, and that was the problem. They had no outlet for the ball once he'd gone down. Tannehill still put up 323 yards, and he did score, but 4 picks. And it was because he was targeting random players, and the plays just weren't coming off.
I didn't even know Brown was in apologies. But I do turn up late for the games.
Yeah, but it does come back to the fact that they don't have Derrick Henry to lean on. Yeah. And in those games where you need to knock a team back and re-establish yourself on the field, they can't do it. Adrian Peterson, 9 attempts, 40 yards, 4.4 a carry is fine, but it's not blow the doors off good. It's not 5.5 yards per carry that Derrick Henry's probably getting.
That's the sort of stat that would get Paul creating something. But yeah, I mean, we keep mentioning identity, and obviously the Titans' identity is we'll give it to Henry. If that isn't working, you've got Brown, AJ Brown. We had Julio, blah blah blah. But I mean, turgid, absolutely. I mean, this Texans is the worst squad in football, quite frankly. And a comfortable win against the Tetons. I mean, I don't know. I've got nothing else to add. It was just poor, really poor. And, you know, I think a lot of teams would be what was a uncomfortable Titans game over the next few weeks has now become. Oh, do you know what? Actually, I'm not. That's not a scary prospect anymore, is it? Until Henry's back.
There's not a lot to be afraid of. They'll still beat some teams because they have some talented players and a really good coach. But there's nothing that you can say is scary. Like AJ Brown, when he's fit, you've got to cover him. But without Julio on the field, that's much easier.
Yeah.
And without Derrick Henry on the field as well,
I mean,
they're not one-dimensional, but they're going to struggle against good teams. And they just lost to an awful team. The highlight play here being I think his name is it Chester Rogers?
Yeah.
It was him that when the Texans punted, instead of fielding the punt, he turned his back on the ball, and the ball hit him on the heel, and the Texans downed it at like the 5-yard line and scored another touchdown within 36 seconds of the last one they scored. You just that's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Boneheaded plays, and it's just
the Titans have given themselves enough of a window. They're 8-3. You know, they're well ahead. The next place team in that division is the Colts at 6-5. So they're still 2 games ahead, but they're going to have to win 2 or 3 games at least without Henry. So they need to overcome this. I don't have any issue with thinking that Ryan Tannehill will play a lot better than this. I don't think he's going to capitulate and fall apart. It's just a bad day. Yeah. But I think the panic was made more by the fact it was a bad day against the Texans and no one wanted to lose against the Texans.
No one should lose against the Texans.
The first half of this game was the first time all season that David Culley had challenged. Because they've never been in a position to bother.
Yeah.
He probably hadn't even brought the red hanky with him most of the time. Yeah.
I imagine it was like when Pete Carroll tried to challenge last week and he just pulled his phone from his pocket instead. But, I don't see. I imagine most of the season.
I'm just impressed Pete Carroll's got a phone.
It looked like probably an old flip phone as well, like the type if we had our grands and granddads, the type they'd have. But yeah,
you ever heard of Nick Westbrook-Hine? Which sounds like a place in Germany.
I think he's my architect.
7 receptions for 107 yards. That's who Ryan Tannehill had to throw to.
Yeah.
Like I say, then in Chester Rogers and Des Fitzpatrick, who the hell he might be.
He's a mix of
Des Bryant and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Oh, good God. Stroppy man with a beard.
Stroppy man, yeah. Either way, unemployed.
Okay, let's move on from them. Do you know who's gunning for that number 1 seed in the AFC, John?
Is it the Chiefs?
Where did you get that information from? It is the Chiefs.
It's because they're really good again.
But yeah, they moved to 7-4 by putting the brakes on the Cowboys' offense for their 4th straight win, rounding into the form at the right time here. Cowboys dropped to 7-3. Definitely not time to panic, but this wasn't a good showing at all.
That's 2 out of the last 3 games for the Cowboys that have been poor.
Just offensively useless.
Poor. This is what the Chiefs do. The defense gets better throughout the year. This is what a Spagnuolo defense does. And suddenly they've, in Snead they've found a cornerback who, like Sorensen a couple of years ago, sort of emerging from nowhere. And, I look forward to, in a couple of years, him being binned out, just like Sorensen, when they, the talent regresses back. But this is, no throwing touchdowns from Mahomes, but one interception, but that was off a drop from Kelsey. I mean, they're winning without having to utilize their star asset as they've had to, for many years. I think they're, as you say, they're reaching good form at just the right time.
Yeah, getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't think he's anything special, but 12 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown. I think he's better than some, not as good as they need, but it worked for them in this game. But it was mainly on the ineffectiveness of Dallas. They did nothing. Dak looked 28 of 43, 216 yards, 2 picks. I don't know. It looked all over the place. And I often think this with Mike McCarthy. When it starts to go south, he is incapable of changing the way he wants them to play. There's not a plan B at all. Zeke, 9 rushes for 32 yards. That's not going to get you anywhere. Tony Pollard, 7 for 50. Just nothing worked at all. Now, I'm assuming that it's partly down to Tyron Smith still being out on the O-line. I don't think this O-line is anywhere near good enough to lose a player of that caliber and still keep everybody facing the right way.
I mean, but you still got Zach Martin as who is the best guard in the game. And you can make excuses. Amari Cooper's out because of things. Every other team has has had injury issues on both the line.
Yeah.
And it's not an excuse anymore. I'm sorry. We need to stop making it. Injuries happen.
Cooper's out with COVID and he's not vaccinated.
He's not vaccinated.
He'll miss Thanksgiving as well.
He's going to miss this weekend's
CD
game.
Lamb out with a concussion, and he did hit his head proper hard. So he may also miss more than one game.
I mean, if they are serious, then he should miss this game coming up. But of course, whether he will or not, I don't know.
Micah Parsons tied DeMarcus Ware for the most sacks by a Cowboys rookie in the season with 8. He's been brilliant. Absolutely
If he's not defensive rookie of the year, quite frankly, you're
not watching it anymore, are you?
I'm just going to say he's been robbed.
Okay, Monday Night Football saw the Bucs back in action and sealing a 5th home win of the season, powering past the Giants 30-10 and ensuring that Jason Garrett is back on the job market today. Happy with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do for a review of this game.
Literally, all I had coming in was, Garrett's got to. I did assume it was good. Like if you're not going to do it before the bye week, then you've probably got to go at the end of the season. But the comments from Joe Judge after the game seemed final.
Yeah, he wasn't committed, was he?
I like Joe Judge. He's a thoughtful speaker, and you just knew from his comments that it's over. I mean, unfortunately, Garrett's gone, but now it's Freddie Kitchens from the looks of it. So, but he was a hopeless head coach. Oh, not hopeless, but some play. Maybe let's see what he's like an offensive coordinator. He's got some. They've got weapons. Unfortunately, Garrett probably should have been gone in the summer, but they wanted to have the continuity, I guess, for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so it's rare for you to have all your weapons on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
But it didn't actually seem to help.
No.
You had Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, and Kenny Golladay all on the field, and I think that's only the second time all season they've all appeared together.
Importantly for Jones, he had Andrew Thomas back.
Yes, the lineman
who the difference in results that Jones has when Thomas is there and isn't is stark, and of course he also scored our only touchdown this week, and once again that came off a interception. Basically, we intercepted the Bucs at the 5-yard line.
Yeah,
we only then had to move 5 yards.
5 yards, yeah.
And we threw it to the big man, and even then it was slightly overthrown, and it was a hell of a catch.
It was a great catch
from a left tackle. What I don't like, He had a dance prepared.
I like that. I mean, you've got. I like to think he's been keeping that in his back pocket since like 2012 when he was a youth.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Why not? You'd dance if you caught a touchdown. You'd dance.
Probably.
And then you injure your knee, undoubtedly.
I'd probably, yeah.
In the 50 games since 2017, so that's 50 games since 2017, when the Giants have been trailing at half-time, what is their record overall in those 50 games? It is not 0-50, by the way.
So, I'm guessing we've not trailed at half-time in 50. When trailing at half-time...
No. You have trailed at half-time in 50... In the 50 games where you have trailed at half-time.
Okay. Yeah. 8-42.
Close. 6-44, which is the worst of anyone in that time. Worse than the Jags and the Jets. I mean...
Yeah.
When are you going to be relevant again?
I don't know.
Will it be under Joe Judge?
I still think he needs to be given a chance, but the thing is, I like him, but it's a results business, and we are not getting results. But yeah, I think he's one more year. I think the major issue is who's going to play under centre, because quite frankly, I don't hate Daniel Jones, but it's
you're out on Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback, though, right?
It can't be him. No, he's going to
be
Colt
McCoy.
No. But yeah, I don't like. I know there are certain internet fans getting excited about
Russell
Wilson, but
not if Pete Carroll goes. If Pete Carroll goes, Russell stays in Seattle. So you better pray that the old man stays in.
Well, that's it. I mean, who knows? But that's the thing that needs to change.
Do you think Paul isn't here tonight because he now owes me cash because you're just not going to be in that playoffs?
Well, remember, it was about winning the division as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to happen, is it?
But no, no, I think because when he does it, he'll make it as awkward for you as possible, and I think he'd find that.
I assume he's bringing it in old money.
Yeah.
Imperial. Like pre-decimalisation coins.
Halfpennies.
He's brought me a treasure map with an X on it and told me it's here.
It's a post-dated check. You got to remember it for 2050 or something. But yeah, for the £4 because the Cardinals are making the playoffs. But
yeah, fair enough. Let's leave this where it is. Revenge games all around as what the fuck took on the Panthers, with Cam Newton starting for Carolina against his old boss Ron Rivera and his old backup Tyler Heineke. Well, the boss and the backup got the last laugh in this one, 27-21 to football team. But I thought Cam did very well. It's his first start back.
Yeah, he was fine.
Imagine if you'd had the forethought to pick him up in fantasy and he scored like 26 points for you.
Yeah, and I picked up Justin Fields.
Oh, you must have been delighted.
What a fucking idiot I am. But yeah, no, I mean, Cam.
Did Cam
things? Was Cam, that's it. He came on, he did Cam things.
I know they lost, and I know last week he barely played, but he definitely gives them a better chance of winning than Sam Darnold, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey became the fastest running back ever to reach 3,000 career receiving yards since the 1970 merger. 57 games is all he's done it in.
He's a fucking monster. And have you seen the footage of him being tackled, but sort of balancing on arm and foot?
Yes, he managed to stay up even though everything was bent the wrong way.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
He's a monster, absolute.
That's also
monster.
how he gets injured, though.
It is, but they're doing. He's coming sort of slowly, but he's still he's the second best running back in the game.
To round off my point about Cam, 21 of 27, which I think is fine, 189 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, no interceptions, and he also had 10 rushes for 46 yards and a touchdown. Now, with those numbers, you should be winning this game. It's just that the Panthers' much vaunted defense couldn't stop Tyler Heineke, who had one of his best games, if not his best game of the season.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like this, but he is getting himself another year. It's a bit like we're going to get to Jalen Hurts. He's given himself another year for them to look at him and say...
He's had 2 really good games in a row. Because, I mean, didn't he beat the Bucks last week? And that's 2 great defenses he's put to the sword.
16 of 22, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He just picked them apart when he wanted to. 6 rushes for 29 yards as well. He is mobile. That threat is there. And
I don't like it.
They could do a lot worse.
I don't like him as a person. But
why? What's he ever done to you?
He's a trumper.
He's got wind.
No, he's a MAGA fan.
What? A manga fan? You mean he likes Japanese comics?
No. Make America Great Again.
A MAGA fan.
Yeah, so he's one of those. But he's doing enough to keep his job. And that's all he can do. And
Antonio Gibson starting to look fit again. 19 rushes, 95 yards.
We know. Antonio Gibson
he's been struggling with the shin, but it seems to be getting better. Terry McLaurin, 103 yards receiving and a touchdown. It was a good touchdown catch as well. There are some pieces on this team. They're 4-6. They are disappointing because of the defense, not because of the offense. So, there's not a lot else that Heineke, McLaurin, Gibson can do. If they fix the defense, I think this team is probably 6-4 or 7-3 as opposed to 4-6. Yeah. They have been horrible defensive.
The defense has, but once again, like the last couple of weeks, they've really started to show up, are they just hitting their stride at the business end of the season?
You'd like to think so.
I wouldn't. I will put it out there now. I wouldn't like to think so, but
they play the Seahawks this week.
It's a win.
I think so as well. Then they play the Raiders.
That's a win.
Then they play the Cowboys.
Which Cowboys?
Well, true. Then they play the Eagles. Could be tight.
That could be a tight game.
Then they play the Cowboys again.
I mean, listen, they've played against what was considered one of the best defenses and beat them. They played the Bucks.
You wouldn't be surprised if they split the Cowboys games.
Yeah.
Now, after that Cowboys game, they play the Eagles again. Now, they could split those games. If they go 1-1 against the Cowboys and 1-1 against the Eagles, you'd say they've done well. Then they play your lot in the last week.
That's a win.
Well, you'd think. In which case, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We think they're winning 5 more games this season, which would put them 9-7.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's possible. That's sort of where we predicted them at the start of the season with Fitz and...
because of the wins they've had, they could be... And the way it will affect the playoffs, they could be spoilers in the last week of the season.
Possibly. I mean, who knows? I mean, is it just the result of some crazy weeks where,
probably.
But let's just see what happens over the next couple. And is it an anomaly? Is it a team finding their stride?
And finally, the Saints got embarrassed 29-40 against the Eagles as Jalen Hurts continues to educate Jim and the league as to why he'll be the Eagles starter next season. For the Saints, it kind of feels like the wheels are coming off a bit now. They're not going anywhere. I've heard several podcasts, I've seen it written, that they're resisting the urge to call Phillip Rivers out of retirement.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm not enamoured with it either. Simeon was not good in the first half. Then he did put some good drives together after this. But there was much talk this week about Taysom Hill's new contract. I mean, I thought he'd only just signed another new contract.
Yeah.
Now they signed him to one that structures it differently because they've realised he's not a starting quarterback. And they basically can't keep him on the team on a ridiculous level of salary. I wonder if they're doing these things to create some room for Phillip Rivers or someone else to come in. Because they've got to be looking at the impact Cam's clearly had on Carolina and thinking, maybe we do need someone. Maybe we need to do something.
Yeah, but if that answer is Phillip Rivers, I mean...
What's the question?
The question,
who's going to the Hall of Fame?
to cheer his draft mate Eli.
Simeon was 22 of 40 for 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's not been terrible. Like, he's been backup quarterback good. He's on the plus side of backup quarterbacks. But let's not forget, Jameis hadn't put up a 300-yard passing game either.
No.
They just seem undergunned. I know they haven't got Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara was missing again.
That's
massive, of course. It's a bit like the Falcons without Cordero Patterson. I really think they need Kamara. I think he makes everything tick. Mark Ingram, fine. 16 attempts, 88 yards rushing. He's been fine. No problem at all with that. I think he had 25 receiving yards as well. So he's filling in admirably, but they just can't afford to not have all their pieces on the field. The defense is not good enough. And Jalen Hurts, he's the first quarterback in Eagles history with 3 rushing touchdowns in a single game.
Really? Well,
they had Michael Vick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they've had some good...
Randall Cunningham,
who
was a great runner.
Yeah. That's the one I was trying to think of. Good. I
think he's getting better every week. His passing stats are never amazing, but he was 13 of 24 for 147 yards, but no turnovers, and that's crucial. If you limit the turnovers and you can score touchdowns with your legs, you're almost Cam Newton.
Yeah,
he's not that good yet, but that's where you're aiming for.
Yeah,
you just limit the turnovers and you rush the ball in. You keep the team moving, and I think we as a podcast owe Nick Sirianni a bit of an apology. It's working. It's working.
Yeah.
They're 5-6. They're not in the division race, but again, they could be spoilers for the playoffs. They're going to beat somebody that we weren't expecting.
They've got to play the Cowboys still, and they could be spoilers. They could be. They've found a sort of a vein of form at the business end of the season. You never know. It could be one of those sort of late charges, maybe in late charges in vain into the playoffs. But you never know. They are sneakily good at the moment, and Jalen Hurts. Yeah, he's not a pocket passer, but when he's got maybe not got the legs of someone like Lamar, but compared to Lamar, he's also got Goddard and Devontae Smith, which makes passing so much easier.
Oh, it certainly does. He was the first quarterback with 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter since 2012. Who do you think that was? It wasn't Cam. 2012.
I think back
week
to
15. You can't remember what you had for breakfast.
I can't.
It was Russell Wilson.
Oh, really?
So he's up there with some big names. Jim, just keep looking out for him. He's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Are we going to say elite quarterback, Jalen Hurts?
No, not yet. But this
or
trio,
elite running back, Jalen Hurts.
This trio of he was described apparently as the best running back in college 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The trio of Alabama quarterbacks, Hurts, Tua, and Mac Jones. Good week for them.
Really
they all
good.
played really well. And maybe there is something to be said about the correct team, the correct coaching, and time.
That is very pathetic.
Or Daniel Jones. Right. Any other news, John? Apart from we're knackered.
I think that's it. Just
you want to have a look ahead.
Nice reminder to just keep safe out there.
Yeah, you want to have a look to the Week 12 Thanksgiving week fixtures.
Well, that's something we need to mention because, of course, it is Thanksgiving week. So the first game,
we've got a highlight game Thursday evening at our
Thursday
time.
evening, 5:30 UK time. It's the 3-7 Bears against the 0-9-1 Detroit Lions.
Oh, give it to me.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be prime time TV.
This is going to be the ultimate turgid game. The only adverts that should be allowed in this game should be for blue pills. Because this is going to be so turgid, it's going to be ridiculous.
Or is it only blue pills because it's going to be so great you just can't? It's going to be an aphrodisiac.
I fucking doubt it.
And then at 9:30 It's the 5-5, no longer Super Bowl contending Las Vegas Raiders against the Cowboys, who will be looking to not form, but I think they're looking for consistency
they need to
again.
Impose themselves. Yeah.
But if you were looking for a way to impose yourself, you'd probably want to play the Raiders right now.
Well, it's the same with the Bills, who are the late game. So technically Friday morning for us, 1:20 a.m. Bills play the Saints, and that could be a stomping. The Bills are angry. Yeah. The Saints aren't very good.
Yeah. As well, of course, it has fantasy implications as well. So, you'll need to set your lineups a little bit earlier this week.
What do you think?
I mean, if you've got Bears and Lions players in your team, unless it's DeAndre Swift, then consider yourself. I mean, as someone who's had Justin Fields, it's gone ASMR.
It has gone very ASMR. Yeah, I mean, Andy Dalton might be a good pickup against the Lions defense, by the way. But you shouldn't have any Lions unless it's DeAndre Swift. No.
Yeah, Goff. They're trying to
rather than Timmy Mallett.
Yeah, rather than Timmy Mallett, they are hoping that Goff will be back.
What do you think your chances against the Eagles? Yeah, Eagles Giants this week.
I don't think their chances are very good, but it's, I guess, if you've got a coach change on a week, then it's hopefully not just too appalling.
I'm going to run through the fixtures, and you're going to stay off the fence, and you're just going to give me a winner, one word.
Okay.
For each team, right? So, Titans, Pats, Bears, Lions,
Bears,
Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Saints, Panthers, Dolphins,
Panthers,
Falcons, Jags,
draw, Falcons. No,
you got to pick one.
Falcons,
Steelers,
Bengals,
Eagles, Jets, Texans, in the toilet bowl.
Jets,
Bucks, Colts.
This one's a really close call. I'm going to go with the Colts.
I've also picked the Colts. Chargers, Broncos. Rams, Packers. That's a great game, by the way.
Great game. Packers.
Vikings, Niners. 2-5-5 teams.
Yeah. Both teams are coming off a good week. I'm going with the Vikings.
Browns, Ravens.
Ravens.
And finally...
Prime time.
Yeah. And finally, Seahawks football team. Teams on a bye will be the Cardinals and the Chiefs. Thank you, John, for this throwback podcast for us.
It is.
Wouldn't have to listen to them other three rambling on.
We did do one, just me and you, a couple of years ago at Christmas.
Yeah. Where they couldn't be asked.
Because they've got families and stuff.
Bloody
kids and wives and shit. And luckily we don't have those distractions because we're so cool. But no, thanks for listening. I think this is probably going to be a bit long because it's just nice to be just us two together.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, no.
We're going to go and make some sweet, sweet love and say goodbye for another week.
Bye.
Enjoy Thanksgiving. Goodbye.
Enjoy. Yeah. Bye.